Venerable monks, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our webinar, The Buddhist Response to COVID-19 in Observance of Vesak Day. My name is Tzu Chi from Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation, and I, alongside my co-moderator Wayne Chang, am so grateful for you all to be with us today. We wanted to wish you all an auspicious and blessed Vesak Day. For those of you joining us on the live stream or watching us through the online recording, please note that we are collecting questions in the comment box, and we are also taking this moment to share with each other any information you have or any ideas you have related around Vesak Day in the YouTube comments, and they will be collected and stored to be shared with us in an after event report that will be circulated to all participants. We will not have a direct Q&A due to the interest of time, but we do ask you to chat in the chat box below. As we face unprecedented times from this impact of COVID-19, the moment that we're in right now is more important now than ever to reflect upon the teachings of Lord Buddha. We face an unprecedented crisis in how people are being isolated, suffering alone, filled with anxieties, and it's moments like this where leaders of faith traditions must come together and raise their voices to reflect upon what more can be done to help lift people out of this suffering, whether that is physical or mental. Today in our panel, we wish to explore how various Buddhist faith traditions are reacting to, responding to COVID-19 and the impacts brought to our various communities, and also look forward to how we can respond to recover and rebuild in an equitable manner filled with compassion and loving kindness. We're joined today by high-level representatives from the UN space, including His Excellency, Mr. Miguel Moratinos, the High Representative of the UN's Alliance of Civilization, the UN Department of Global Communications Representative, Jeff Brez, who serves as the chief of our civil society unit, and from UNICEF USA, Austin Chu, who serves as a manager for global causes at UNICEF USA. Together, alongside with senior venerable monks, we're going to be exploring these questions of what this moment of COVID-19 means in Vesak Day, and what does this moment mean for us globally as an international community, and how do we walk forward? With this, I'll now welcome my co-moderator, Wayne Chang from the Buddhist Association of the United States to introduce our venerable monks and lead us in an opening prayer.
Thank you, Steve. Well, first of all, happy Vesak Day, and today is the Vesak Day. But it is very different today because the COVID-19 hit us very hard, changed the daily life. But we are very grateful that today we have many venerable Buddhist leaders here, and with a loving kindness, compassion, they would like to share some through the Buddhist teaching that how we face this COVID-19, what is our mindset should be, and how do we deal with that. So allow me to introduce them. We have many venerables from East Coast, New York, to West Coast, and all the way down to Asia, Taiwan. So let me introduce the first one on my list is Venerable Wapola Piyananda. And everybody has a very abundant background and experience, but here, because time limit, I can only give you a few words about each person. Bhante Piyananda, he is the abbot, also the founder of Dharma Vijaya Buddhist Vihara, which in LA. And he's been United States a long time ago in late 70s. And then we have Venerable Bhante Tzu Chi, okay, and he is also from Asia. He has his a temple in Los Angeles, and he's really good in Chinese too. All right. The third person on the list is Bande Bhikkhu Bodhi. He's currently the president of BAUS, Buddhist Association of the United States, and he has a lot of writing and translation from ancient Pali canon. The fourth person is Bande Kempo Karma Tenkyon, and he has been assigned by 17 Kamaba to United States in leading the KTD, which is a Karma Trayana Dhammachakra, and he's a guide, give a guidance in leading the KTD and KTCs. The next is Abba Hui Dong. He is the current abbot of Foguangshan. We call it Silai Si, right, in LA. And thanks to his arrangement, so because we know that he has one session he has to lead right after this, so his time is really very rushed. But thanks to his arrangement. Then we have the East Coast, Venerable Abba Mingyu. He's the president of American Buddhist Confederation, and thanks to his attendance. Then next one, we have Vice Abbot of Bhavana Society in West Virginia. That's a Bande Sadajiva. Then after that, we have Venerable De Yuan. She is in Taiwan, Hualien, at the Jingsi Abbot. And thanks to her, because her time zone is very different from us. It's about 12 hours difference from East Coast. And then we have a professor, Dr. David Lloyd. He is currently reside at Rocky Mountain Ekodharma Retreat Center. He's a writer, he's a Zen teacher, and he wrote many books too. So this is our in Buddhist community leaders that will give us a talk. So now in the beginning, we're gonna ask for Venerable to give us open prayers. The first, we have to invite Venerable Bande Piyananda. Bande, please.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Nacha kuttang samacare kinchi yena vinyukare upavadeyong sukhino va kemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta eke chipana bhutati Tatava Tavarava Anavasesa Digava Ye Mahantava Majimaras Kanu Katula Dittava Eva Ditta Ye dure vasanti avidure bhutava sambhave siva sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta dukkhapatta janittukha bhayapatta janitbhaya Sokapatta janitsoka Hontu sabbe pipanino. Sabbitiyo vivajjantu. Sabbarogo vinasatu. Mate bhavattvantarayo. Sukhi diga yuko bhava. Homage to the Blessed One, the Perfect One, the fully awakened One. One should not come into slight wrong that wise person might censor that there be happiness and security. May all beings be happy-minded. Whatever beings there are, timid, strong, and all others, long or huge, average, short or long, seen or unseen, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings be happy-minded. May the suffering not suffer, the fearful not fear, the grieving not grieve. May all beings be well and happy. May all misfortune be avoided. May all illnesses be healed. May not trouble come to you. May you live long and happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Bande. Now, we're going to invite Bande Bhikkhu Bodhi.
Bhante Bhikkhu Bodhi, so sorry. I believe you're not unmuted yet.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I will recite some verses from a sutta spoken by the Buddha. According to this sutta is called the Ratana Sutta, the discourse on jewels. According to the tradition, the ancient Indian city of Vesali had been attacked by a plague. The plague was caused by evil spirits, and the people of Vesali were not able to cure the plague by any kind of natural means. And so they sent a messenger to the Buddha to ask the Buddha to come to Vesali to help to heal the plague. And so the Buddha came to Vesali together with his community, and then he recited the sutta. And while reciting it, he held an alms bowl filled with water, and he recited the sutta and then gave the bowl to his disciple Ananda and asked Ananda to walk around the city, sprinkling the water around the boundaries of the city. And as Ananda did that, the evil spirits fled the city, and then the plague was cured. I don't think the coronavirus is caused by evil spirits, but still the sutta corresponds with maybe the needs of the time. I'm just going to recite the opening verses and the closing verses, since the sutta itself is a bit long. And in the verses, we invoke first the spirits to come to listen to the discourse and to show loving kindness to humankind. And then we praise the virtues of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and we generate the wish that by the power of these virtues, may all calamities be dispelled and may everybody be safe and secure. Yani de bhutani samagatani bhumani vayani vantalike sabeva satab sumana bhavantu atopi sakacha sunantu basitang Tasmahi Bhuta Nisameta Sabe Metang Karota Manusya Pujaya Divacharatocha Harantiye Baling Tasmahine Rakata Upamata Yani Bhutani Samagatani Bhumani Vayani Vaantalike Tathagatang Deva Manusa Pujitang Buddhang Namasama Sawati Hotu Yani Bhutani Samagatani Bhumani Vayani Vaantalike Tathagatang Deva Manusa Pujitang Dhammang Namasama Sawati Hotu Yani Bhutani Samagatani Bhumani Vayani Vaantalike Tathagatang Deva Manusa Pujitang Sangang Namasama Sawati Hotu. So by the blessings of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, may this world be safe, secure, and healthy, and may all beings live together in peace and harmony, supporting each other to flourish together.
Thank you, Bande Bhikkhu Bodhi. And next, we're going to invite Campbell Kamatankyong. Campbell, please.
I'm going to offer a praise of the 12 deeds of Lord Buddha in Tibetan version. Namo Ratna Trayaya. Thank you.
Thank you, Campbell. And next, we're going to have Venerable Mingyu Fa Shi. Mingyu Fa Shi, 请。
般若 波罗蜜多心经，观自在菩萨行深般若波罗蜜多时，照见五蕴皆空，度一切苦厄。舍利子，色不异空，空不异色，色即是空，空即是色。受想行识亦复如是。舍利子，是诸法空相，不生不灭，不垢不净，不增不减。是故空中无色无受修行识，无眼耳鼻舌身意，无色声香味触法，无业界乃至无意识界，无明也无明尽，乃至无老死，亦无老死尽，无苦集灭道，无智亦无得，亦无所得果。菩提萨埵，依般若波罗蜜多故，心无挂碍，无挂碍故，无有恐怖，远离颠倒梦想。究竟涅槃三世诸佛，依般若波罗蜜多故，心无挂碍故，无有恐怖，远离颠倒梦想。究竟涅槃三世诸佛，依般若波罗蜜多故，得阿耨多罗三藐三菩提。故知般若波罗蜜多是大神咒，是大明咒，是无上咒，是无等等咒，能除一切苦，真实不虚。故说般若波罗蜜多咒，即说咒也，揭谛揭谛，波罗揭谛，波罗僧揭谛，菩提萨婆诃。愿以此功德，普济有一切，我等与众生，皆共成佛道。
好，感谢明义法师。Well, thanks to Bandes, Campbell, and 法师 by using different lineage language to give us the open prayers. Now I'm going to pass this to Steve and to introduce the UN representatives. Steve.
Thank you so much, Wayne. And thank you so much for all of the Venerable Dharma Masters for sharing such powerful grounding prayers to open this online dialogue. It's now my great privilege to welcome the Undersecretary General, Miguel Moratinos, who serves as the High Representative of the United Nations Alliance of Civilization, to share with us some opening remarks from the perspective of one of the UN's leading platforms for intercultural dialogue and understanding, the importance of Vesak Day in the times of COVID-19. Mr. Moratinos.
Yes, venerable monks, distinguished religious and spiritual leaders, I wish to extend my congratulations to all of you celebrating Vesak Day, and to thank you for organizing this event where we commemorate Lord Buddha's teaching of peace, compassion, humility, and wisdom, which is more relevant today as they were over 2,500 years ago. In normal circumstances, we should be celebrating Vesak Day at the UN General Assembly Hall, as we always did since 1999, when the member state adopted Resolution 54-115, recognizing the day of Vesak and acknowledging the contribution of Buddhism, one of the oldest religions in the world, to spirituality and humanity. Sadly, the COVID-19 pandemic has prevented this annual celebration. We are all confronting an enemy that is attacking people indiscriminately, everywhere, regardless of their religion, belief, race, sex, or ethnicity. Paradoxically, global responses to this crisis have been discriminated and disproportionate. Many vulnerable communities have been left behind, destitute, deprived, and fighting alone for their lives and livelihoods. We see people turning inwards instead of reaching out to others. And we see a crisis of solidarity instead of unity. This is where we can draw inspiration from Buddha's teaching. The sacred day of Vesak offers us an opportunity to reflect on the timeless wisdom of Buddha. Born a prince, he rose above self-interest and went into the world to help overcome human suffering. His core message was that of tolerance, empathy, and humanism. These are virtues that can serve as an inspiration to all of us, particularly at the United Nations Alliance of Civilization, where we strive each day to build a world of inclusive peace, mutual respect, and understanding. We created a global platform for dialogue across the faith spectrum, and we strengthened it through the UN Interagency Task Force for Religion and Development, which we co-chair with the Office of the Special Advisor for Prevention of Genocide and the Executive Secretariat of UNFPA. This is in line with the Buddha teaching on the fundamental equality of all people, regardless of status or circumstances or characteristics. These same values are enshrined in the UN Charter. Non-discrimination and inclusivity are fundamental principles by which we work to meet our ambitious goal. And that is why we must reinforce them every day, everywhere. Lord Buddha also taught us the four sublime states, which are kindness or metta, compassion of karuna, sympathetic joy of mudita, and equanimity of upekkha. In other words, we should learn to live peacefully, to sympathize, to share, to help, to forgive, to love, and to bring joy and happiness to others. Former United Nations Secretary General U Thant talked about karma, the principle that every action has a reaction. He said it's echoed in the UN Charter call for countries to live in peace with one another. He also said, when we act with compassion and respect, national and international problems, I quote, will fall into perspective and become easier to solve, end of the quote. I believe this is very true. So on this day of Vesak, let us renew our commitment to stand together as one humanity, show kindness and compassion to the most vulnerable, and truly leave no one behind as we face those turbulent and difficult times together. Happy Vesak Day.
Thank you, Mr. Moratinos. Together, as one humanity, we can solve all of our global crises if we come together in solidarity through loving kindness and compassion. Generating this culture of peace is something that requires deep communication and deep understanding. And we're grateful for platforms like you and AOC for the work that they are doing, promoting this intercultural understanding. Similarly, I'm now going to turn to our next panelist, Mr. Jeff Rez from the United Nations Department of Global Communications, to share with us a little bit, what is the role of civil society and working with civil society look like? And how do we envision a civil society once we come back to this new normal from facing the crisis of COVID-19? Jeff also brings us the delight of bringing a message from the UN Secretary General to us on this Vesak Day. Jeff.
Thank you very much, Steve Chu, and to the organizers for having us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Undersecretary General Moratinos, for your words. The Secretary General did issue a statement for the day, and I'm going to read it. It is brief. He sends his warm wishes, Undersecretary General Antonio Guterres, to all who are celebrating the day of Vesak, which is a sacred occasion to, as you all know very well, millions of Buddhists around the world. And quote, as we honor the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Lord Buddha, we can all be inspired by his teaching. And as the human family suffers the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are reminded of the Sutra. Because all living things are subject to illness, I am ill as well. This timeless message of unity and service to others is more important than ever. It is only together that we will stop the spread of the coronavirus and recover. On the day of Vesak, let us celebrate Lord Buddha's wisdom by taking action for others with compassion and solidarity, and by renewing our commitment to building a peaceful world. End quote. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to deliver that message of the Secretary General for the day. And thank you for your question about our work. I am the Chief of Civil Society and Advocacy in the Department of Global Communications at the United Nations. And we work very closely with civil society in a variety of ways. And during the COVID pandemic, our focus is on three things. The first is making sure that we provide information that's useful to civil society around the world, and of course that includes so many faith-based organizations, about what is happening at the United Nations and what are the opportunities for them to still participate, engage in the conversations and decisions that are being made here at the United Nations still. Of course, many meetings have been canceled or postponed, but still there are processes that are ongoing, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that civil society knows how they can access everything that's happening virtually and online now, and understanding the opportunities there are, from briefings to high-level processes, such as the Oceans Conference, which is postponed, but will happen eventually, how they can get accredited, and Beijing Plus 25 dialogues, for example, on women's issues and gender equality. There is a lot still being planned and happening, and while there is a lot of unpredictability, we don't want to lose our partnerships and our connections and our collaborations with civil society, non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations around the world. So on our website, un.org/civil society, we're trying to make sure that we provide as much information as we can possibly gather, so that there's sort of what we call one-stop shopping for civil society organizations. So that's number one, making sure they have information, that they know that the United Nations is still working, that we as staff may be at home, but we're working just as we know all of civil society is. Second, we also know that civil society organizations around the world, whether or not they had a background in health, are absolutely active, and more active than ever, perhaps, in responding to this crisis. And whether that is simply to work on ways to continue their activities as they were, or to do new activities as they see needs arise in their communities, civil society is extremely active. So what we have done is called out to civil society worldwide to tell us the stories of what they're doing around the world, and also how they are linking their actions on the ground to guidelines provided by the World Health Organization. And we're posting those stories, whether it be providing protection equipment and medical services, protection services for homeless populations or at risk populations, support to households that are living in difficult conditions for various reasons, including due to violence in households. Civil society organizations are on the ground seeing the needs in real time and working to provide solutions. So we want to share what they are doing globally, so that to encourage this sense of solidarity, which is highlighted today on Vesak Day, and show the value added and the strength of the civil society community globally, and how important it is, as a reminder, that the United Nations remember how important of a partner civil society is in responding to this pandemic. The third is, sadly, as we all know, there is a lot of misinformation out there about the virus. There is stigma about certain groups. Certain groups are being targeted. There is hate speech out there, and there are myths about how we can protect ourselves and what we need to do to protect others from this virus. So what we have done is launched a global civil society survey about misinformation. It's actually launched in English. We're just about to post all of the translations into UN languages, and then we'll do a broader push. But it's an effort for us to really listen to civil society so that we can communicate effectively where we need to about how civil society can act on science, can inspire solidarity, and share their solutions. So critical because we know that civil societies have a huge reach around the world. So those are the three major things that we are doing. And I'm just going to mention two other things very quickly. First is that, well, three. The Secretary General also, and these are things we really need and count on civil society for, and I think that mentioning these particular items, three of them, on Vesak Day is particularly appropriate. So first is on March 23rd, the Secretary General issued a global appeal for a global ceasefire. We know how much people in conflict situations are suffering, people who are moving on the move from one place to another, refugees and migrants, women and children. So he has issued a plea for a global ceasefire. And many others have taken up that plea that armed groups around the world lay down their weapons and allow for humanitarian corridors. That's number one. Number two, on May 1st, the Secretary General issued a policy brief and a message on showing solidarity with older persons. Older persons are at greater risk of poverty, discrimination, and isolation, especially those in developing countries. And I know that providing support to older persons is often a focus and a strength of faith-based organizations. So that's a strong call that the Secretary General issued just a couple of days ago, with some key messages that no person, young or old, is expendable, and we have to do everything that we can to protect not only ourselves, but others, including older persons. And there are several other messages in his message and in the policy brief and specific guidance. So please take a look at that. And the last thing I'll mention very briefly that was just issued on May 4th is a call for solidarity for persons with disabilities. There are 1 billion people in the world living with disabilities who, even under normal circumstances, are less likely to access education, healthcare, and income opportunities, and to participate in their communities. Imagine the isolation, imagine the daily struggles they're facing. This is also another area that I think is worth highlighting on Vesak Day, and also highlighting the amazing work that faith-based organizations in particular are doing to providing support for persons with disabilities around the world. So I'll leave it with that, and thank you all again, and I look forward to hearing more from everybody.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you for those reflections, particularly thinking about how faith-based organizations play a large role in responding to COVID-19. I'll now turn over to Austin Chu from UNICEF USA to add to those reflections on how faith-based orgs are playing an active role in responding to COVID-19, and also layering on top of that, thinking and sharing with us how is UNICEF responding to COVID-19 to ensure that we're protecting the rights of every child on the ground, even in the situation of being socially isolated and distanced in this time of COVID-19.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning or good evening to everybody. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with so many venerables and esteemed members of the Buddhist community, as well as my esteemed colleagues from the UN. I'm Austin. I'm the manager for faith-based partnerships at UNICEF USA. And so glad to be here to share a quick update about what UNICEF's response to the COVID-19 public health emergency has been. So quick note, UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, works in 190 countries and territories to put children first through healthcare and immunizations, safe water and sanitation, nutrition, education, emergency relief, and more. And as the leading humanitarian organization for children, UNICEF is is bringing its expertise in safe water, in health, nutrition, and others programming to bear in the response. And UNICEF USA, which I'm here to represent, supports UNICEF's work through fundraising, advocacy, and storytelling in the United States. And we're working together towards the day when no children die from preventable causes and every child has a safe and healthy childhood. Would like to acknowledge the important role that faith leaders and communities have to play, as faith organizations and communities across traditions have long been among UNICEF's closest partners in the work that we do, as well as among the greatest advocates for the care and protection of the vulnerable, inspired by values and teachings of faith. And all faith traditions teach compassion and selflessness, love and generosity. And now more than ever, that is what our society, what our world needs. And with so much suffering around us, it's the only way we can get through this crisis is together and through showing concern for the most vulnerable. UNICEF, like all the faith organizations represented on this call, remains committed in reaching the most vulnerable people in the poorest countries, including children and mothers, and our work is now more important than ever. Just for context, while many of us have been isolating in our homes or have been able to safely practice social distancing, there are many in the world who cannot practice good hygiene or social distancing because they don't have access to safe water. COVID-19 comes to us on a background where 3 in 10 people worldwide lack access to safe, readily available water. And the child or the community who was vulnerable before COVID-19, this outbreak has only served to exacerbate those vulnerabilities and heighten their risks. And there are currently an unprecedented 1.5 billion learners who are out of school, and they're either going without access to education or for the first time they're studying remotely. And past experience from past outbreaks has shown the longer that children stay out of school, the less likely they are to return and to turn to negative coping mechanisms such as child labor or child marriage. And that's just the piece on education, but this outbreak has the real possibility of rolling back many gains that we had made as a world for children and girls, especially across a wide variety of measures. The UNICEF Executive Director, Henrietta Fore, has said that children are the hidden victims of this pandemic, and we're worried about the short-term and long-term impacts on their health and well-being, their development, and their prospects. And so UNICEF is taking a multi-pronged approach to meet both the immediate health and non-health needs of children and the most vulnerable. UNICEF is helping to strengthen local health systems, supplying frontline health workers with protective gear, and improving access to clean water and sanitation, while also ramping up assistance in education, child protection, and other areas. And as part of that work, UNICEF is coordinating closely with the WHO and other UN partners through the Interagency Standing Committee, as well as INGOs and implementing partners. And our strategy is in line with the COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness and Response Plan of the WHO and the Global Humanitarian Response Plan from the UN. So 2 strategic priorities from UNICEF. The first is public health response to reduce the human-to-human transmission of the virus. So again, that includes providing critical medical and water and sanitation supplies, improving infection prevention control, and also risk communication and community engagement. And Jeffrey just now mentioned the importance of combating misinformation and creating awareness around the right information. And this is a critical part of what UNICEF is doing, both at a national and regional level, as well as at the community level. So UNICEF and partners have already reached some 86 million people who've been affected in East Asia and Pacific and South Asia with prevention messages, mostly around hand washing, but also around other important social behavior change, such as social isolation. And I would also like to acknowledge that as the risk communication, community engagement work, faith leaders are also critical to that work. Through the community engagement mechanisms, we're reaching out to volunteers, youth and youth organizations, women's organizations, but also faith leaders who play an important role in the community as adherents and followers are turning to their religious leaders for moral authority and influence and guidance about what to do during such time. So continues to be a very important role that faith organizations have to play in the public health response. The second strategic priority is on the secondary impact and mitigating the impact of the outbreak on social factors. So that involves ensuring continued access to critical services in health, education, and social and child protection, especially for pregnant women. That means ensuring continued access to primary healthcare services. And for children who are out of school or on the move, or those with special needs, it also looks like continuing to ensure access to education and learning so that children can continue their education as much as possible. And finally, we're also undertaking data collection to understand the secondary effects of this crisis on children. As I mentioned earlier, children, while they don't currently seem to be as affected by the virus as other populations, it's important not to discount the effects, the social and emotional effects of the outbreak and of socially isolating, being out of school on children, and again, being the hidden victims of this pandemic. So as we continue, as UNICEF, UN, and partners continue to scale up the response across all regions, we continue to seek the support and partnerships from across all sectors, including civil society and faith organizations, as we strive to reach the most vulnerable in the poorest countries. And so in that effort, I want to thank all the organizations represented on this call, as well as faith communities, volunteers around the world who are working every day to meet the needs of the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Austin, for really sharing the work that is being done on the ground to prevent future suffering. I think mitigation right now is the most important at looking for a brighter future. If we ensure that we mitigate these secondary impacts, we'll allow for a brighter future for all children and all who are facing these impacts. As we look towards this idea of mitigation and imagining a brighter future for all, dealing with this new normal that has been given to us by COVID-19, I think it is very apt to explore how Buddhist faith traditions are already addressing COVID-19 and the work they are doing to mitigate future suffering. So I'm now going to turn our panel back over to my co-moderator, Wayne, to introduce the second set of panelists and thank my first set of panelists for their beautiful and enlightening remarks. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Steve. And thanks for UN's message and informations. Now we're gonna get into the section for our Buddhist leaders to provide us advice and some kind of information that through Buddhist teaching and how do we deal with this COVID-19. The first, we're gonna have Bande Piananda. Bande, please. Bande, you are on mute.
Yes,
You're okay now, yes.
Yeah. Venerable Sangha members, distinguished guests, I thank the organization committee of this Vesak celebration for inviting me to say a few words on this most important day of the Buddhist calendar. It was the Vesak, the full moon day in May, that Prince Siddhartha was born, the day he attained the enlightenment, and the day the Buddha passed away. It is also called the thrice blessed day. During this time of stress and turmoil over the coronavirus pandemic, when most people are mentally depressed, this is the best time to give a few minutes each day to think about the teachings of our great teacher that may help us he taught us that all things are impermanent, that nothing remains the same. All is as we want it to be. Let us recall the Buddha's words, be a lamp unto yourself, be a refuge unto yourself, seek no refuge outside yourself. Stress is well recognized as a contributing factor upsetting the body's natural, internal, and chemical balance. Stress impair the immunity system and so impairs its ability to protect the body. According to the Buddha, all mental states have mind as it is forerunner. Mind is the chief and make the mental states. Therefore, we have to keep our mind calm and strong to protect ourselves, because if our mind down, of course, automatically our body also going to down. Also, Lord Buddha said, if I do anything harm to myself, that is an unwholesome act. If I do anything harm to others, that is an unwholesome act. Therefore, we have to follow what health expertise advise to protect ourselves, wash our hands, wear face mask, self-isolate, and where we have to go out to use social distances, protect ourselves and others. By the following this guidance, we can achieve what the Buddha said was the greatest treasures, arogya, paramalabha, santuti, paramangdanam. Health is the best gain. Best wealth. Thank you so much. You be well and happy.
Thank you, Bande. Like I mentioned before, because Abba Hui Dong, he's a schedule. So if I may, I'd like to shuffle a little bit to move the Hui Dong ahead. Is that Bande Tzu Chi, is that okay with you? Okay, all right. So we're going to have Abba Hui Dong to give us some advice here. Abba Hui Dong, please.
Thank you. Good morning, venerables, distinguished guests, and all the friends participating in this dialogue online. First, I want to thank Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation for organizing this dialogue. And also, I want to thank everyone for being here with us and also helping this world to overcome the pandemic. I'm gonna share the screen of my slides for my short, very brief presentation. The COVID-19 pandemic is a global health crisis. We really learned some lessons from it. It shows the world that all the countries and all people are interconnected. Everyone is vulnerable, and everyone has to follow the health etiquette to protect him or herself, regardless of their religious or social background. And the ways we treat others eventually will come back to us. We help others, and eventually we will be helped. Helping others is in fact helping ourselves. And we don't scientifically know the causes of the pandemic or where the virus originally came from, but through the understanding of this interconnectedness between humans and between human and the rest of the world, other species, and we know the importance of protecting the environment, including all species of animals, not just other between humans. And for Guangshan temples around the world and the BLIA, the Buddhist Light International Association members around the world reacted quickly to this pandemic by helping the peoples around the world. They started donating face masks, more than 3 million pieces to different countries, and donated medical protective gowns, more than 8,000, and goggles, surgical gloves, and also some mask headbands, ventilators, and food and other supplies. And this picture shows the BLAA in New York City donated face masks to the police officers. And this is the Venerables and the BLAA members in New York. They donated the face masks and other medical supplies to the hospitals. And the Four Guangshan temples in New York also prepares the supplies to ship to different states in the United States. And this picture shows they work hard to make donations to the hospitals in New Jersey. Las Vegas, and the Venerables and the BIA members make donations of face masks to the hospitals and also to the police department. Hawaii, the BLAA and the temple make donations of face masks to the hospitals, police departments, and senior houses. In LA, the temple and the BLAA make donations to face masks to hospitals, and this picture shows the Methodist Hospital receiving the face masks and the gowns. And some medical centers and hospitals received the donation of the face masks from Shilai Temple. And the Sheriff Department of LA County also received the donations. And they're picking up the face masks as well. And this picture shows in Canada, the Buddhists are creative. They donated the what is called the mask band for the medical personnel to wear the face masks so that they can feel more comfortable. And these are the mask bands. And this picture shows people, the Venerables in Japan make donations to the hospitals. And not only the Buddhists around the world reacted very quickly to this pandemic by making donations, they also practice and continue their learning of practice of Buddhism online. And this picture shows the people around Buddhists around the world that chanted more than 25 million times of Heart Sutra and Transfer Merits, and in order to help people to have inner peace. And at Fo Guangshan, this Chan Pure Land prayer service were convened, and it was only participated by the monastic members, and more than 3.5 million people watched it and participated online. And also for the Buddha's birthday, and today is a Vesak day. Happy Vesak day, by the way, to everyone. And this to bathe the Buddha right now, it's also developed this app for people to do it online. Here, people from home, they can bathe the Buddha. And for the classes, and more than it's in all over the world. This picture shows the data, the statistics from different countries for people to participate in the classes. You know, and I want to thank everyone for being here with us, and thank all the people online participating in this dialogue, and hope this pandemic will end soon and people get back to their order of life, and also be healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Abba Huidong, and thank you for your arrangement for this. I know that your schedule is very tight. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And thanks to Pandit Tzu Chi. Now we're going to have Pandit Tzu Chi to give us a talk.
Well,
Pandit, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. First of all, thanks for organizing this, and also the nice words, and then the chanting and everything that we have received so far, and then the difficult work, or the hard work, or the good work, what we are doing. Well, what I would like to add to this is that this is how I think about the coronavirus and this situation. The human ignorance. Human ignorance causes many disasters on this planet, including weather-related or the wars, or such as the viruses that we are talking about, H1N1, Ebola, SARS, and so on. So it's a good time to understand the teachings of the Buddha, that we talk all this about the interconnectedness of everything and everyone. So realistically, we have to understand the consequences of our actions. Our behavior is very important. If we can change our behavior, we can have a better future. Talking about the behavior, even the social distancing, and then a lot of even violent actions, and also it was very difficult to explain to people how to understand the value of social distancing. So it is all our behavior patterns in our day-to-day life, or especially in a difficult time like this. So the conditions that we humans have created pain and suffering almost everywhere. So if human beings are willing to change, as I said, our destructive behavior, then there is hope for a better, secure future. And then we will have a better environment for all living beings. So according to recent news reports also, we all know that what we call the meat processing plants, in general, we are calling about slaughterhouses. The slaughterhouses and the people who work there also got infected, and also still they keep working. So they can spread all over in different ways. Not only that, and then we are talking about these millions of animals that we kill every day, the effect on our planet Earth. And we talk about the climate change and environmental issues and all kinds of things. So it is very unfortunate in a way that we don't spend enough time to think about the consequences of our actions. So there's so much to talk about on this subject. But let us hope that we can overcome this stressful, challenging time. And then also let us try to understand the interconnectedness of everything and everyone. And let us spread hope, not fear at this time, especially that we need to make people to understand how to make a peaceful life. We'll all have the desire for happiness, and then we all experience uncertainty in a time like this. So we need positive thinking and positive actions and for the better future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pandit Tzu, and thanks for your reminding us to really look into our behavior and be positive. All right, thank you. And next on the list, we're going to have Pandit Bhikkhu Bodhi. Pandit, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, good morning. Okay, good morning, everybody. And I express first my appreciation to the Tzu Chi Foundation for organizing this conference and for the members of the United Nations for their very informative presentations. When I look at the coronavirus pandemic from a Buddhist point of view, one factor that immediately sort of strikes out and makes a strong impression on me is the difference in the responses to the virus that took place between the countries of East Asia, where the virus apparently originated, and the results that have been taking place here in the United States. The virus began, so far as we can determine, in China, in the Wuhan province. Then it spread to Taiwan and Korea. And those countries quickly adopted, well, China, of course, delayed and prevaricated for a few weeks, maybe about a month. But once it realized that the virus was very serious and was going to spread and bring about harmful effects, they adopted very strict measures, preventive measures, to suppress the spread of the virus. And similarly in Taiwan and Korea. All of these countries took immediately took strong measures and prevented the virus from spreading and from affecting large numbers of people. Here in the United States, particularly, we could see that the virus, once it took root here, it spread and proliferated, and now the death toll is rising constantly. And so how do we explain the difference, looking at this, for the way I look at it, from a Buddhist point of view? In the case of the East Asian countries, we see that knowledge or understanding led to a quality that in Buddhism we call Samvega. Samvega means a sense of urgency in the face of danger, which leads to action, the adoption of the appropriate methods to prevent that danger from growing and becoming a serious threat to one's well-being. What has taken place in the United States is almost a sterling example of the way ignorance coupled with craving leads to suffering. We see ignorance in the proclamations of the people in the highest seats of power that the virus is not going to spread here, or if a number of cases emerge, They're going to quickly disappear in no time, as if by a miracle, the virus will be gone. We see ignorance in the demonstrations and protests in front of state capitals saying that this is a free country, we are entitled to do what we want, and we don't have to observe any of the measures imposed by the state authorities and recommended by the health authorities. And so when we live in ignorance, and this ignorance is reinforced and manipulated by those in positions of power who seek to reinforce their hold on power and their control over resources of wealth and material goods, when we see that greed for power coupled with ignorance, spreading more ignorance, the result is that the disease will spread and multiply. And right now, the predictions are that the death rate is going to increase over time exponentially, so that by June, it said the number of deaths will more than double. Now it's something like 74,000 deaths in this country. By June, they're predicting something like 180,000 deaths. So from a Buddhist point of view, to control the spread of the virus, what we need first and foremost is clear understanding of the threat that the virus poses, the way it's transmitted, and a sense of responsibility to ourselves, to those in our community, to those throughout the whole country, responsibility which is enacted by adopting as a matter of utmost urgency, the preventive measures recommended by the health authorities, by those who have a true and correct understanding of the causes for the spread of the virus. We cannot live in a fantasy world where we believe that just by thinking optimistic thoughts, the virus is going away. And I would say that one of the things that Buddhism offers to us and to people in general, even those who don't want to accept Buddhism as a guiding philosophy of life, are the certain values that will help us to maintain self-restraint in order to prevent the spread of the virus. Particularly, one of the qualities that Buddhism teaches is the need for patience. We have to be patient in enduring short-term hardships, recognizing that in the long term, the results will be beneficial. Whereas if we give way to impatience and act on our impulses, we might be able to get some more immediate satisfaction, but the long-term consequences will be disastrous. So we need patience. We need a sense of social responsibility, rooted in compassion, but compassion not just as an emotional state, but as a real commitment to the well-being of others. And by adopting the sense of self-responsibility, we are willing to adopt for ourselves those restrictive measures in the understanding that this is going to be beneficial to our community, to our society, to our country as a whole. And particularly what's critical now as the virus spreads throughout this country, we have to take strong measures to ensure that a powerful, wealthy, vested elite does not utilize the crisis in order to channel more and more of the national wealth to themselves, to lock the controls of power in their own hands, and to create a more severely divided society with sharp divisions between that wealthy, powerful elite and everybody else who will be exposed to illness, to death, to sorrow and misery. So we have to promote a sense of justice and of social solidarity and take action, collective action, to ensure that we put into the positions of political power people who have a sense of true social responsibility, clear understanding of the principles of correct administration of a country, and are ready to act to protect the country as a whole and not their own narrow interests. Thank you very much. And again, may all blessings be everyone.
Thank you, Bante. And thanks to Bante's point out the direction and also try to awakening the society to be more clear and take a collective action toward that a better world today, tomorrow. Thanks, Bante. And next on the list, we're going to have Campbell. Campbell, please.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning and a happy Vesak day to many master, Bande, and official and viewers gathering here online. And thank you for sharing precious wisdom and prayer and for gathering member of all faith. And thank you so much for Tzu Chi Foundation. Today is a Vesak day and we have a wonderful event. So I would like to offer 4 opportunities for this time together. We must learn how to calm our mind and free ourselves from fear during the pandemic. Many people are scared, have anxiety, and experience depression during this time. We can help each other ease this fear by calming our mind by meditation practice. The Buddha taught all the dharma or phenomena originate from causes. The Tathagata has taught by these causes, and also that which would I stop with these causes, this too has been taught by the great Sarmana. So knowing that everything comes from cause and condition help us paralyze our fear. If we didn't do anything wrong in the past, then we will not reap that fruit. If we detect wrong action in our past, then we will reap this fruit. So this is the reality of the nature. So we have an invitation to calm our minds. The pandemic is an opportunity to understand and accept the reality. Now we can focus on our daily action, try not to focus just on past karma. Instead, recognize that you decide your present reality. We can follow the advice of the scientists and the doctors, wash your hands and stay home, and the practice social distancing and support your immune system. The present action take care of us by the good motivation. This is the now and our future karma. It is a good time to spend with your family and to take care of yourself. And now is the perfect time for study and practice of Buddha Dharma. And Buddha said, if you do good, you will get the good fruit. If you do wrong, then you will get bad fruit. And this is the law of the universe. The pandemic is an opportunity to live mindfully with every action. This is the best method to recover our world. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic is in part due to not taking care of the Mother Earth and animals. Because of our greed, we took without limit from the earth and from animals. We have been our mothers in the past, and our precious Mother Earth is an example of the loving kindness Buddha. And if we can begin to understand our relationship with the earth, we can begin to understand and our interdependence with everyone. The pandemic has made it clear we are all connected. To understand the Buddha's teaching that everything is interdependent, we have to practice more. From more practice, we realize we don't want to go back to normal. In our old normal, we didn't care for others. Most time, we made it more difficult for others. I have heard people asking for freedom in the news. Many think that freedom is doing whatever we want. But this way of thinking shows us we haven't found freedom yet. The true freedom is always accompanied by compassion, wisdom, and skill. The genuine freedom is in fulfilling interdependence action that benefit others and oneself. Even by simply wearing a mask, we take care of all sides. We wear a mask so that we don't give sickness to the other people, and in turn, the mask also protect you. If you take care of yourself, that means you take care of everyone too. The pandemic is an opportunity for us to support all living beings and to understand interdependence. The Buddha said, loving kindness is the foundation of the practice. We all have an appreciation for medical staff, for cleaners, for police and firefighters, for store workers, and all essential workers. From their example, we can see the loving kindness in the world. We need to find courage like this help us to bring more loving kindness to our world. As His Holiness the 17th Karmapa recently said, we need to counter Corona with Karuna. So building digital community is one way to begin. Like many temples and Dhamma center, we have at least 5 live streams a week focusing on practice and the Buddha's teaching. And in the Himalayan region, monastery and nunnery have been helping with the food supply and the medicine. But this act of kindness, even digital meeting like this one, encourage people. The pandemic is an opportunity for us to practice loving kindness, to recover, and to support each other. While we are all in quarantine, it is a perfect time to check our mind, check our passion, check our loving kindness, and check our understanding of nature. We have the precious opportunity to check our understanding of the Buddha's teaching and to practice. Through practice and contemplation, we can live the teaching of the Buddha. So when we practice every day, because every day is Buddha's, Vesak day. After practice, we dedicate to gather for the pandemic to subside. Please dedicate as fervently as you can that sick may recover swiftly. The doctor, nurse, and other medical professionals continue to find new treatment and the medicine. And we have to dedicate that those who have passed away move on to a happy rebirth. And please, we have to dedicate that the pandemic may swiftly end everywhere in the world. And finally, we have to dedicate that good health and happiness and prosperity may flourish. Thank you so much. Sarva Mangalam.
Thank you, Kumbho. Thank you for your advice, and thank you for reminding us to be with a mindset through Buddha's teaching, and they'll also bring up the loving kindness to be our responsibility to face this pandemic. And the next will be on the list will be Venerable Mingyu, Mingyu 法师，请。
好的，那我讲中文。诸位长老，诸位法师，各位嘉宾，现场的朋友，早上吉祥。一场突如其来的新冠病毒席卷全球，至今大多数国家呢依然在为之战斗。在这场没有硝烟却比硝烟更为惨烈的战争中，全球已有超过370万人被感染，超过26万人失去了生命。 悲伤、惨痛、哀悼，已无任何语言能来表达我们的心声。作为佛教团体，美国佛教联合会本着庄严国土、利乐有情、慈悲济世的大乘菩萨精神，在物质援助和宗教关怀两方面，尽其所能地为此次全球疫情贡献了一份绵薄之力。首先，物质援助方面，当1月末中国发生疫情时，美国佛教联合会第一时间于1月27日发出倡议，呼吁在美佛教团体为中国武汉疫情筹集急需物资。在各界善心人士的共同努力下，我们共采购了1万多只口罩，运抵湖北武汉医院。同时，向灵山慈善基金会捐赠了5万美元，以用于防护物资的采购。3月，疫情在美爆发，我们在做好各寺院自身安全防护的基础上，再次号召佛教界为美国疫情重灾区纽约筹集紧急物资。3月29日，美国佛教联合会成立了特别抗疫行动组，专门负责防疫善款的对接。截止到目前，共收到来自海内外佛教团体和社会各界善款19万3千美元和14万5千人民币。我们一概将善款呢，在第一时间采购了口罩、防护服、面罩等紧急物资，并将全部物资分3线送达到纽约各大医院、警察局、消防部门以及布鲁克林区政府，由政府分配给社区等需要地区。第二，疫情发生后，美国佛教联合会号召组织各个寺院为疫情进行祈福法会，尤其对战斗在前线的医护人员及其家属和警察、公交、地铁运输人员等社会必要工作人员，我们各寺院奉诵大乘经典，为之祈福回向。同时，为缓解医院工作人员以及感染患者家属的忧心和压力，我们也展开了在线法会、禅修等宗教服务，使其心灵得以舒缓和安慰。最后，面对即将有可能的2次来袭，我们认为应提高人类的觉醒。灾难的发生是因为长期以来人类以自我为中心，肆意残杀动物，破坏生态环境而导致。佛教的慈悲与智慧能为世人提供生活和心灵指南，使人民建立更加理性的思维模式，找到更和谐的生活方式。佛教的慈悲喜舍必将成为本世纪最需要的精神食粮。无缘大慈，同体大悲，病毒无情，人间有爱。我们相信，只要人类团结一致，互帮互助，最终定能战胜这场战役。最后，衷心祈愿全球疫情早日消除，疫苗早日研发成功，众生皆能安乐。谢谢大家。Thank you.
Thank you, Ming Fa Si, and thank you to remind us and to take the action also to be aware the second wave will coming back in fall. Thank you. And next we're going to have Venerable Bande Sadajiva. Sadajiva, Bande, please.
Good morning to everybody. Today is the day that we celebrate to get gratitude to Buddha. Today is the day Buddha born to this world. Today is the day he attained enlightenment, and today is the day he passed away. Buddha is a great teacher. He is recognized most of the people around the world as a religious leader. This is one of mistake that we done in human history. Buddha is just a teacher. What he said, Tummehe kichang atapo akataro tatagato, I'm just a teacher. You should follow the guidance to achieve the goals what you maintain in your life. Achieving that, achieving your goals, you have opportunity to develop your peace and insight. To achieve that goal, what we should do, we following Buddha's teachings, we can see in Metta Sutta, Karaniya Metta Sutta, there are few qualities that we should develop. The qualities are, one should be able, straight, upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. One should be content, easy to support with pure duties, living lightly, control in senses, discreet, non-impudent, unattached to family. These are some qualities that Buddha mentioned in Metta Sutta. First, as a first thing, we should make a goal for our life as a human beings. As a human being, we have a goal to develop our humanity, to become a superhuman beings. Why we want to become a superhuman being? Get rid of all the sufferings. If you are not developing your human qualities, which we call at the beginning, metta, karuna, mudita, upekka, loving friendliness, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity, these are the qualities of the human beings. If you are not developing these qualities, you always hanging around with defilements, which we call lobha, dvesha, moha. Lobha means greediness, dvesha means anger, moha means ignorance. These are the cause for all suffering. This virus has not came from another realms. This virus created by the human being in this world because of their unpurified mind, unpurified actions, diluted actions. Then corona is a result. Now we have to find out the cause to give the best solution for this epidemic. Recognizing cause, then we can find a path how we can get rid of that. As human being, we have most powerful weapon which we normally don't use, that is our mind. Mind is the most important things that we should develop as a human being. Developing our mind, we can see solutions for our matters, for our sufferings. To develop our mind, very important thing is concentration. Developing concentration is most important thing. To develop our concentration, there are 3 activities that we should apply, which we call dana, sila, bhavana, practicing generosity, observing precepts. Observing precepts mean respecting rules and regulations, norms, values, taboos, all these things. And also practicing meditation. Applying these 3 methods, we have opportunity to develop our concentration. Developing concentration, we have opportunity to gain our wisdom. wisdom is the best solution for our all matters and problems, what we are facing. And wisdom is the best solution to achieve our goal, happiness, which we always maintain everyone in the world to be happy. If this is the goal for us to achieve that goal, wisdom is the best solution for that. If you can think about, focus about all these things, but delivered by the Buddha, guided by the Buddha, applying all these methods, we can get into the path that Buddha show us, and we can be a very good Buddhist follower. Buddhist follower means not someone who is following the teachings of the Buddha with the blind faith. We have to open our mind. We have to get the ability to see things very clearly. If you have these qualities with us, if you are able to develop all these qualities with us in this very life, we can make very comfortable place. We can make this world peaceful place. We can make this place like a paradise for all living beings. We did so many mistakes in the history. As a result of those mistakes, we have to pay for it. Buddha said, every volitional action has a reaction. Every volitional action has a reaction. In our history, with our greed, with our other defilements, we did so many mistakes. As a result of those mistakes, we have these things to come, these things to face in today. As we know in the history, 1980s, we had some kind of epidemic like this. That day we used same guidance what we have today. But it seems following this method in this life, we fail health-wise, education-wise, we fail in this world. Now we have to focus to develop our spirituality, inside development. This is the Buddha's teaching. If you can do Sabba Papa Sakaranam, don't do any evil, Kusala Supasampada, develop your skill, Sachitta Pariyodapana, control your mind. Etam Buddhana Sasana, this is the teachings of the Buddha. If we can follow this guidance in this short time period of life, what we can live, what we have to live in this world as a human being, we can uplift this humanity to top of level. Buddha is a role model for us. So we have to see him with clear mind. We have to see him with open mind, not as a religious leader, as a leader to all living beings. Particularly, we have to accept him as a role model for the human beings. If you can make that determination with yourself, this is the best way to respect to the Buddha. I would like to end my little words saying, Buddhan saranang gacchami, Dhamman saranang gacchami, Sangham saranang gacchami. Thank you very much. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful.
Thanks to Bande Sadajiva. Thank you for your reminding the practicing the content and the direction. Thank you. Next, we're going to have Venerable De Yuan Fa Si. She's all the way from Taiwan, and over there now we know it's almost 10 p.m. now. So we're going to have Venerable De Yuan Fa Si Qing.
Venerable Masters, honorable guests, brothers and sisters, happy Vesak days. Thanks for all the hard work and good work that everyone put in at the effort to make this dialogue happen. It is with heartfelt sorrow for all to witness the global outbreak of COVID-19. This pandemic has had long-lasting health and economic disruptions across our global village, bringing about afflictions and fear. As the pandemic continues to take its toll on our nation, our healthcare system is under distress. Many of our people are struggling with job uncertainty, food insecurity, and grief. How can we help everyone to feel safe and at peace? First of all, we must follow the disease prevention measures and be vigilant of our body, speech, and mind. We have to keep in mind that sentient beings must come together with the heart of sincerity. Putting compassion into actions will leave no one behind. Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation has been working with our local communities to provide food and necessity packs, financial and spiritual support, especially for people in isolation. Taking a look at our Mozambique Tzu Chi chapter, our trained volunteers have been visiting villages to provide personal hygiene education. As national and regional lockdowns are lifted, both financially and socially, many of our communities initiated relief programs to assist low-income families. There are many people who are working tirelessly in the front lines, and it is important for us to support them. Our founder, Dharma Master Cheng Yen, appeals to all. As we safeguard our own health and families, we should reach out to the vulnerable communities in this critical junction to spread love, overcome feelings of restlessness, and bring communities together. As of May 1st, over 190,000 masks have been made and delivered to combat the spread of COVID-19. These cloth masks are reusable and lessening the environmental impact for our Mother Earth and living beings. Most importantly, we reserve the surgical mask for frontline workers. Dharma Master Cheng Yen has said, when interacting with others, we harbor gratitude. And within society, we work together in harmony. Facing suffering, we have to nurture great compassion. Facing difficulties, we develop resilience. And facing disasters, we must give time for Mother Earth to heal. We hope everyone can engage in repentance, give rise to sincerity, protect all living things, follow a plant-based diet, and pray for peace on earth. It is important for us to work together, practice great loving kindness and compassion. Let's put our palms together. May all the Buddha hear our prayers. May we all unite with one heart. Let us spread the seeds of great love, and may there be no suffering year after year. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Yuan, and thanks for sharing that the work that Tzu Chi has been done, and also the vow for the whole world as a one humanity. And next, we're gonna have Dr. Lloyd. And Dr. Lloyd, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very pleased to be able to join you from Colorado and represent the Rocky Mountain Eco-Dharma Retreat Center. One of my favorite Zen or Chan stories seems quite relevant to our situation today. A student asked the master, when difficult times come, how should we respond? What should we do? And the master replied, it's a little difficult to do it on camera, opening up the arms, welcome, welcome. The basic point being, of course, that our path isn't about avoiding difficult times. I mean, clearly in a case like this, the welcome doesn't mean something like, oh, isn't it wonderful that this has happened? Obviously, there's been too much suffering, and the suffering is clearly going to continue for some time. But nonetheless, we can ask what there is to learn from this. Our Buddhist path really has two pillars. On the one hand, the Venerables have talked a lot about compassion, and we've heard a number of stories about the many wonderful examples of compassion and generosity that this pandemic has drawn forth. But another question for us too is, what can we learn from it? What about the wisdom side? And I guess in the interest of time, I'd just like to make one point about that, comparing, if I may, our situation now with the life cycle of a caterpillar. As I think many of you know, caterpillars and butterflies are actually the same species, just different life stages. And what strikes me is how much until this pandemic we could compare our individual situation, and indeed our collective one as well, with the preoccupation of a caterpillar, which is devouring everything in sight, consumption, let's say. It really seems to me that in many ways, the predominant religion of our contemporary world is consumerism. I mean, if we consider if religion is what teaches us what's really important about the world and how to live in it, I think, to be honest, consumerism is the most successful religion of all time. And in that way, we can compare our situation to that of the caterpillar. But now what's happened with this lockdown, with this seclusion in place that most of us are experiencing? It seems to me it's the shift to this new stage where the caterpillar becomes a chrysalis. It spins a cocoon and it goes into this kind of suspended animation. Isn't that, in fact, the situation that we find ourselves in now? But the important thing about the chrysalis or the cocoon is that it's an opportunity for profound transformation, which I think is really what's needed here, in the sense that, for many of us, this lockdown is very similar to a kind of meditation retreat. Suddenly we're thrown back in ourselves. Suddenly we have this opportunity to look at our lives. Our lives are paused, and we can ask, what's our focus? What's our goal? Where are we going? Not only individually, this is the other interesting thing, but also collectively, because the pause, the lockdown has happened not just for us personally, but for our whole civilization, our whole economic process. The caterpillar isn't simply our individual preoccupation with consumption. It's also the kind of economic system that we have, which is extraordinarily preoccupied with never-ending economic growth, increasing GNP, GDP, and so forth. So in both cases, it seems to me that there is, in fact, an opportunity built here, despite the enormous suffering involved. I mean, needless to say, for many people, this is not an opportunity to be safe and to have the quiet of something like meditation. But I think it's really important for all of us who have those kinds of opportunities, not only to do everything we can in order to be compassionate in this very challenging situation, but also to take advantage of it personally, to sort of ask, okay, who am I? Where am I going? How do I integrate my Buddhist faith, my Buddhism, with the kinds of personal transformation that we know are necessary. And also to ask at the collective level, given that in a way our economic system too has kind of closed down, to ask ourselves what are the opportunities going to be when we slowly begin to open up again, whether we can in fact create a better kind of society. One of the Venerables spoke about the 3 poisons that the Buddha emphasized: greed, ill will, and delusion. One of the important things, it seems to me, is that in the contemporary world, we've really institutionalized them. To a large extent, our economic system is institutionalized greed. Let's be honest, never having enough, right? Always needing to grow. But as I like to say, why is more and more always better if it can never be enough? Likewise, I think we've institutionalized ill will with our militarism, with our racism, and indeed with our tribalism in general. And the ignorance of advertising, the ignorance that keeps us preoccupied with our own consumerism. So on both the personal and the collective level, I think despite the enormous suffering that's happening, I think we also need to recognize and acknowledge, and when possible, take advantage of this pause in our own lives and this pause in the direction of our civilization, so that we can ask, where are we going personally and collectively? And is this perhaps an opportunity to grow and to learn something really fundamental? I mean, in my own lifetime, and I'm pretty sure for the lifetime of everyone else here, this is the most extraordinary experience. But we need to be asking ourselves, what can we learn from it? So in the interest of time, let me leave it at that, and let me thank you for this invitation and this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, Dr. Loy, and thank you for giving that simile from caterpillar and cocoon and to a butterfly. That's fascinating. That's very interesting. So at this point that we have all our advice or the sharing the insight from Buddhist teaching by Oda Sangha and also the professor, and always feel that time is limit, and we found so much from your talk that give us a guidance, give us advice, especially during the COVID-19 time frame. That's what we need, and I'm sure we can have more from you maybe in the near future. That that more advice, more teaching from every one of you. And since time is just real quick, right now it's almost 10 o'clock, and we kind of like at the end of this session. So at the end, we'd like to ask Venerable Bande Bhikkhu Bodhi can give us a closing prayer and remarks. Bande Bhikkhu Bodhi, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So we've had a very, very rich variety of reflections and reports coming in the course of this day, and some very, very inspiring examples of what I would call true compassion in action. Particularly, I would have to say, from the Chinese Buddhist organizations, which have really been responding very, very effectively and very magnanimously to those in need. From the different reflections, a theme that emerges, or two themes. One is that we are all, as human beings on this planet, interconnected, and our own individual actions affect everybody else to some degree on this planet. But another type of interrelationship or interaction is that between the internal and the external. That is, the situation in the world is, in a sense, looking at it from a Buddhist point of view, a reflection of the qualities within our own minds. And so if we see, of course, there'll always be a certain degree of natural disasters, natural calamities that are inevitable, but also those natural calamities, their impact can be amplified and propagated through unhealthy attitudes, unhealthy states of mind, whereas the impact can be mitigated by transforming our internal states of mind. And so we could say that this crisis, particularly this pandemic, gives us the opportunity, as David Loy said, to become something like the caterpillar, which is going into the stage of the cocoon. And the caterpillar emerges as a beautiful butterfly that gives delight and pleasure to everybody that sees it. So hopefully, as we go through this very difficult and challenging period ahead, we'll emerge as a transformed humanity, replacing greed with greater generosity, hatred and hostility with compassion, loving kindness, and ill will, and ignorance with understanding and wisdom. So let us all join together in the hope that that will be the ultimate outcome from this very trying period that into which we've entered. And so maybe I'll just end by reciting in Pali some verses of blessing to transform or transfer the merits that we've acquired from our gathering over Zoom this morning, to share the merits with the Dharma protecting deities, the devas, the dragon spirits or nagas, the bhutas or fierce spirits, and with all other sentient beings. Okay, so I'll recite these verses in Pali. Akasa ta chabuma ta deva naga mahidika punyanta nganumoditva chirang rakantu lokasasanam. Akasa ta chabuma ta deva naga mahidika punyanta nganumoditva chirang rakantu desanam. Akasa ta chabuma ta deva naga mahidika punyanta nganumoditva chirang rakantu mang param. Etavatacham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya bhavagupadaya avici hetato etantare satakai upapanna rupi arupicha asanya sanino Dukkha pamuchantu pusantu nibuting. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bande. And at the end, well, thank you all. At the end, I want to pass that to my co-moderator, Steve, to do the wrap up. And there's maybe some more information he want to pass on. Steve, please.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us till the very end. We've really deeply appreciated all the profound, beautiful reflections that have emerged from this conversation. This pandemic and COVID-19 really is an opportunity for us to recognize our interconnected and interdependency, and to have that recognition that compassion not only comes from within, but takes form and takes life in action. We encourage you to continue to reach out to us through the various socials that were shared in the YouTube links. If you would like to reference any of the speakers' information, you can find their information within each PowerPoint slide simply by going back on the YouTube videos. And in closing, I would just like to thank once again all of our venerable monks and the High Representative of the UN Alliance of Civilizations, our colleagues from UNDGC and UNICEF USA, for being with us and sharing these great messages about not only how we are addressing COVID, but how we're moving forward to build a more equitable society for all. With this, I'll now close our webinar dialogue. And once again, thank you for being with us today. If you have any final closing thoughts that you would like to share within your to us as panelists, please feel free to share them in the YouTube comments section. We have a team that's collecting those comments, and that will be synthesized into an outcome document report that will then be circulated to all of the speakers and anyone who has registered through our RSVP link. If you'd like to be in touch with us, you can reach out to me directly at steve_chu@tzuchi.us. And with that, I will close out this call. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a beautiful Vesak day, everyone.